Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here. Excited to be with you today at the podcast. It's brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software, IC Bus, and Student Transportation of America. A little later, Taylor Ekbatani is going to be talking with Valerie Higley. She's a children's author and school bus driver, and her book teaches kids about school bus safety. So excited to hear about that. All right, guys, before we dive into the headlines, we've got a quick message from our sponsor. STN EXPO being right around the corner. That means it's time for Top Transportation Teams Award. Guys, are you a top transportation team? Don't keep it to yourself. Get the recognition you and your team members deserve by enrolling in the Top Transportation Teams Award program. Guess what? Our friends at TransFinder launched this Top Transportation Teams program last year and had great success. 6 teams from across North America received special recognition and were honored at STN EXPO West in Reno. They got complimentary tickets, accommodations, tons of media attention. You don't even have to be a TransFinder client, though I'm sure you'd love to be. Contractors are also encouraged to enroll in this award. Visit toptransportationteams.com to learn more. Why should you enroll? Bragging rights for sure, but your team will also learn from other school districts and private fleet contractors on how to become the best team they can be, better than ever. Enrollment ends May 3rd, so get started today. Visit toptransportationteams.com. We always have Mr. Ryan Gray, editorial extraordinaire, with us. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, glad to be back. I was on vacation, missed the last podcast, but spring break is now past us and we're in the home stretch.
Nice. Well, we'll put you right back in the hot seat, Ryan, with top headlines of the week. So what do you got for us? What's new out there in School Transportation Nation?
Yeah, well, one of the big news items last week was, of course, that tragic March 22nd school bus crash in Bastrop County, Texas, just east of Austin. That video that we have up online that Hayes Consolidated Independent School District released in the days following that crash really shows the power of video, and that's actually the upcoming title of my editor's take in the May issue. So talking a little bit more about that. But a lot of the talk has been about seatbelts, obviously. Texas, one of about 9 states that has a seatbelt law for school buses. In effect since 2018. The situation, though, with the field trip bus that was struck by that cement pump truck on March 22nd, had no seatbelts on it. And even more so, it did not have any integrated child seats on it. These were pre-K students coming back from the zoo. Texas is one of the states that, as many states, do not require integrated child seats or the restraint systems for preschool or pre-K kids, even though NHTSA recommends it. And that's the whole reason why we have our 8-hour hands-on school bus safety seminar at STN EXPO and TSD conference. But Hayes CISD, actually last week, their board voted on a plan to approve accelerated seatbelt installation. So like most of the school districts in Texas, all new school buses have to have lap shoulder seatbelts, those 3-point belts. But there is, in the case with Hayes CISD, there's still some school buses out there on the road that do not have the seatbelts. So Hayes CISD is getting aggressive with closing the loophole. Now, we're not talking about a lot of school buses. Most of the route buses, they have 109 routes. Most all of those buses have seatbelts, but there was about 15 that did not. And the school district actually has those buses or has purchased them, and they're awaiting some equipment being installed, decals being placed on those buses. So that bus was not available when this crash happened. So the board now, of course, there's been a huge public outcry because of this crash. And you know, we know the school bus safety record, Tony, especially in frontal and rear impacts, compartmentalization. That's really what it's designed for. But as we've seen over and over again, the National Transportation Safety Board, crash tests, our own articles show that anytime that there's a side impact or a rollover, because after this cement truck veered into the oncoming lane and struck the school bus then rolled over, it tipped over. And that's apparently how the fatality happened. The student, the 5-year-old Ulysses Rodriguez, who died in that crash tragically. So Hayes CISD, they're actually going to be setting out to accelerate those purchases. And they're also, most interesting to me is they're retrofitting. So it's going to cost, upwards of $468,000, I think, to retrofit those. So they have a lot of bond money that they're using. And, the cost of the new school bus is around $160,000. That's with the lap shoulder belts. So they're really accelerating things and trying to get total 100% seatbelt coverage throughout their fleet.
Yeah, I know it's been a difficult time, Ryan, I'm sure for many of the families and everything that happened, because it's so jarring, it's so shocking. And, everybody's looking for a prescriptive solution when tragedy strikes, right? And it's kind of like, okay, we'll do it on our schedule. But now that this has happened, public outcry, the board is feeling much more compelled to spend resources to outfit the buses, right? They had their schedule of why they don't do it. And so it's always interesting, these knee-jerk reactions. And we always say, right, it takes an accident or an incident or a fatality to really get things moving. And then it starts to die down over time and people forget. But regardless, this is something that we see time and time again throughout our industry, different states it happens. And now, clearly, as we've discussed, the frequency of fatalities, and I think I was reading a Wire report just recently that there was a school bus accident with a bicyclist, right? It was a 16-year-old. The bus did not have any children on it, but struck a passing bicyclist. And I'm sure there's more details that will come out about that. But again, another fatality. Is that collision avoidance? Is that a lack of driver awareness? Did the student just have not an acute awareness of the bus and they just were riding there? Was the bicycle electric, right? You see a lot more incidents with electric bikes. And I walked my children to school this morning and I saw an electric bike just roll right by, didn't stop at the stop sign. They were going really fast.
And a lot of these are like middle school students or high school students. I mean, that's a big issue in my town as well. And where you see some of these kids, riding in the opposite lane, like going up a hill when who knows if a vehicle's cresting the hill, just really unsafe behaviors out there and seeing a lot of it. So certainly more detail will come out on that South Dakota collision that you mentioned, whether it was an electric bike or not. Still, pedestrian and bike safety is this industry needs to keep that at the top of mind, just like everything else. Especially so much of our training and coverage of this industry centers on danger zone and then the safety inside the bus. But certainly, there are several students killed a year or other pedestrians who have nothing to do with the school bus and the school bus hits them. So, like you mentioned, whether that's collision avoidance, there's also increasing amount of pedestrian safety tools, technology that can be on the buses to sound alerts. So absolutely, it's just trying to remain as vigilant as possible. And how can this industry learn from these incidences so they don't happen again?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. There's a lot out there. Accidents happen with unsafe behaviors, as we've seen. And time again, there's going to be more accidents, more fatalities. And as an industry, we always look to technology too, right? I know at STN EXPO, you and I were talking about, I have a panel I'm putting together on safety technology and how people are implementing different safety technologies with funding from guys like NHTSA, or we're looking at passenger detection. Obviously, we just saw the great use case case of a dash cam, the effectiveness of that. And the question begs, how many people are actually using dash cams, right? I know we have video security in the bus, but dash cams seem like not as prevalent, at least in my understanding.
Well, I actually asked a couple of vendors about that when I was putting together my column that I mentioned that's coming out in May. And I know that Clint Breyer at Safety Vision told me that over the last 6 years, dash cams increasingly have become, quote unquote, pretty standard in a lot of the projects that they're working. So, when we're looking at the bundled service, because a lot of these districts and school bus companies, they're not looking to just buy the onesie twosies, right? They're looking to upgrade entire systems or add systems that have not existed before. So I think we're seeing a lot more of these total complete systems, and that includes, of course, the backup cameras, the front dash cameras, and then we have illegal passing, of course, and then the different cameras situated around the bus, and seeing that really blind spots both around the bus and inside the bus are virtually being eliminated. But that's certainly looking like the trend is that dash cams, we're going to be seeing more and more of those.
Yeah, great. All right, before we get some more headlines, got a quick message. This message is brought to you by Student Transportation of America, a leader in school transportation services. STA operates more than 22,000 vehicles throughout the U.S. and Canada, delivering safe and reliable transportation and fleet services to school districts of all sizes. STA is committed to moving the industry toward a greener future and positively impacting the health of passengers and the planet through their use of electric vehicles, alternative fuels, and other green fleet initiatives. To learn how STA may be able to help your district, visit ridesta.com. That's ridesta.com. All right, Ryan, I know we're requesting many award nominations. We mentioned it last week. We got Garage Stars. So, if you guys have outstanding fleet professionals in your organization, we're looking to get some nominations for our Garage Stars. They're featured in STN Magazine. I believe it's our August issue, right, Ryan?
August issue, yes.
August, yeah. We always do that. We pick out the top 10. We've got some different folks on our team that vet those nominations. And we like to highlight garage professionals because they do lots of great stuff for our industry and keeping the fleets running and safe, and kind of some unsung heroes out there. So guys, I highly recommend leaning in stnonline.com. Go to the story about Garage Stars and you can nominate right within the article. There's a form in there. We also have our Green Fleet Awards. If you guys are investing in alternative energy vehicles, infrastructure, you're doing something innovative in the area of green energy, that's on stnexpo.com in Reno. So that would be /west. And if you go there, go to our events tab, drop down, you can nominate your district or company if you guys are doing something innovative, and you can win one of the coveted Green Fleet Awards we give away at STN EXPO. So got those coming up. What else we got, Ryan? Any other awards?
Well, those nominations for Green Fleet, I wanted to add. I believe the deadline is Friday, so just in a couple of days. So if you haven't gotten on that, get on it quick.
Don't drag your feet, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. But we also have, and I would be remiss too if I didn't mention that those Green Fleet Awards. I work with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Collaborate with them on going through all those nominations. They've developed a criteria for us. You can get all those details again when you go online to nominate. But certainly one of the aspects of Reno. But first up, we have Indy coming up. It's crazy, Tony. I think we're like a little over a month away from Indianapolis. So looking forward to that, putting the finishing touches on that agenda. I know there's going to be in the May issue that comes out here, in a few days, really. We'll have some more detail on that. And of course, you can always head over to stnexpo.com/east to learn all the latest, greatest on that.
Yeah, we can lock in that STN EXPO East Indianapolis. The early bird deadline ends on the 26th, so April 26th. So that's coming up as well as on the same day as the awards deadline. So we have a lot culminating on 4/26. So guys, definitely go to STN EXPO, sign up today, lock in your discounts, take advantage of it. And we want to make sure we get you the best training, best workforce development out there. So thanks for that, Ryan. And, what other exciting things have you got cooking for sessions? Any other highlights you want to kind of share with the audience on? I know we had Brett Brooks on last week talking about incident command. That has a lot to do with safety. We've been talking green energy with Green Bus Summit. I know you've been working closely with the EPA to try to get them engaged with us again, like we did last year. Talk a little more about the Clean School Bus program. I want to share a little more about some of those things.
Sure. So EPA will be out there in both, planning to be there in both Indianapolis and in Reno. So we'll be taking some slightly different tacks with both of those, but certainly looking. A lot of the conversation is the planning. For the infrastructure, and so much that we've been talking about for years now, with the construction necessary to get the necessary power into parking lots and into depots to power these electric school buses. So, of course, the feds released earlier this year this school bus plan awards, which really aren't money, but it's this consulting services. So we've talked about that before. We have an article about that, and then in Reno, we're going to be doing a deeper dive into that and having some fleet operators discuss. Again, kind of the latest in terms of implementing the technology and how they're using these funds. And going forward, because we know that we're about halfway through the EPA Clean School Bus program, what's next? There's certainly going to be some state programs that continue on, but how are they using that money? How are they trying to foster partnerships, and collaboration on the local level? Certainly, there's a lot of supplemental type activities out there to help fleet operators pay for electric school buses and pay for the infrastructure. We have an article coming up in June on microgrids, and that ties into V2G. And we know that that's not the one-stop shop that I think a lot of folks were promising when electric vehicles and electric school buses really began to take hold several years ago. But it's something that fleet operators need to be looking at, because it's gonna take a little bit of everything to really make this work. And as we've talked about, a lot of that has to do with different fuels as well. So it's not just a one-stop approach that folks can take to making their fleets green.
Excellent. All right, guys, going to dive into our interview with Taylor Ekbatani and Valerie Higley. But before we do that, we've got a quick message. Today's tech tip is brought to you by IC Bus. Looking for ways to improve your on-time performance and reduce operating costs? All IC Bus CE Series school buses come standard with a factory-installed telematics device, including a 5-year connectivity subscription. You'll gain access to on-command connection, an industry-leading remote diagnostic solution, providing data that is visible, easy to understand, and actionable. With OCC, your school district will have visibility to vehicle health and performance data at your fingertips, including EV-specific information like state of charge and estimated range. Learn about other standard capabilities of their connected vehicles at icbus.com. That's icbus.com.
Hello, nation. Taylor Ekbatani here with another great guest for the podcast. We are speaking with Valerie Higley. She's a school bus driver for First Student at East Lyme Public Schools in Connecticut. And she's getting well known. If you guys haven't seen an article about her, we're going to jump right into it. But she created a children's book. So very excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
And you guys can't see Valerie like I am, lucky to see her right now. But she has her book in the background. She has Shaman the goat plushie. It looks great.
Thank you.
So before we, jump into things a little bit, can you kind of provide the listeners with a little bit of background on you and how you got into student transportation?
Sure. I think my story starts like so many others. When my children were young, I wanted to have another way of contributing to our household income. So I started driving a bus. And it's kind of funny. The very first time I ever sat behind the wheel and put the bus in drive, I was so afraid. I couldn't even drive a pickup truck at that time. But learning how to drive a bus it's been great. I've been able to contribute to our family, and I really loved having summers off with my kids. The hours have been good, for a mom. So it's a job that fits me well.
Mm-hmm. And you started driving around 2000?
About that time.
Okay.
Yes, it's been a minute.
And off and on, because you're also a goat farmer. You have animals.
Yes. So when my husband and I were looking at now, all this time has elapsed and we're facing the possibility of having an empty nest with all of our children grown, I told him that I really wanted my life to be full of animals and children. Those are my two loves. And so that's the life we created. I am driving a school bus and I love being around the children, and being in the barn is my other happy place.
And so your experience as a school bus driver, you said you're intimidated. You've never driven, such a large vehicle before. So what has your experience been? What's the favorite part of your job? And I guess this is a long question. Sorry, I'm just going to throw it all out there. But what advice, would you also give to new moms or new people who are just intimidated to drive this large vehicle?
Okay, very first off the top of my head is trust in your trainer, because they have been trained themselves on how to train. So honestly, you really can see better in a bus than you can in a passenger vehicle. So when I go to schools and I'm reading my book, I will ask the children, how many mirrors do you think are on a school bus? And nobody ever guesses 7. So with all those mirrors, it really is not difficult. It takes some practice and getting used to and good training. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely very doable.
And what has kept you, doing it all these years? What do you love about the job? And
so speaking more presently, I love the team that I'm on. I have a great location manager. My coworkers are so supportive. And I think that's what makes any job enjoyable for anyone is going to a good place with a good environment and a positive atmosphere, and knowing that you're making a difference for the kids at the end of the day.
Yeah. That's amazing. I know when we posted your story on Facebook, people were commenting, like, where can I get a Valerie, or can Valerie come work for me, because of, the school bus driver shortage and because of the passion that you clearly have for your job. How can we get more Valeries out there in the industry? How can we recruit more people who maybe don't know that they love school bus driving?
How can we recruit more me's? Oh my word, I don't know.
Or just, how to get more people interested in driving a school bus.
So the children are the whys behind everything that I do. So having a love for kids and a love for helping people, I think that is part of what makes bus driving a good fit. Personality types, I think that's it. That's all I got.
That's a tough question. Well, especially right now, like you read all these reports about like student behavior and students, attacking school bus drivers. And so there's a lot of press out there that doesn't, necessarily shine driving in such a positive light. So I think your story and being passionate about it really pushed positivity through.
Okay, so this kind of ties in with the idea about driver training. I think that having an understanding of children in general and what kids are going through nowadays definitely helps. Being able to maybe integrate a little bit of SEL into the student management portion of our training would help when we are faced with little micro situations where there might be a 30-second interaction with a student that needs support, but we don't recognize that they need support unless we're trained that way. And so if I am able to recognize the difference between curiosity and a question asked out of curiosity and wanting to understand, rather than a question that's being asked in like an accusational way, trying to find fault, that would prompt a different answer, from the driver. So I think just being able to understand from a compassionate point of view that everybody needs kindness. Everybody needs to be loved. And when we offer, often children who need the most love, I saw it recently, it's a quote, I'm trying to place where I found it. Children who need the most love often ask for it in unloving ways. And so recognizing that will make a difference in the way that we respond. And not fighting fire with fire. It's just different ways of interacting with students. If we are trained in a way that aligns with the district where we drive, and we are understanding that we're a team player, first of all, and we're on the team of everybody wanting to provide the optimal education experience for every student, then I think all of those things factor into the shaping of a driver as a whole person.
I love that. Thank you. So switching gears a little bit now, talking about Shaman, riding the school bus, your children's book that you created, actually based off of one of your animals, which is really cool. So can you kind of talk about, where this idea came from and how it got off the ground?
I was kicking the idea around during 2020, and at the end of 2020, where there's shortages of everything everywhere, including drivers, I was looking at how can I make this job easier for everyone? Because I had a motivational sign somewhere that I saw it said something like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And so I thought, how can I make this easier? And one of the more difficult aspects is student management. So on my farm one day, I thought, what would happen if a goat rode the school bus? So the idea kind of grew from there, and goats really are kind of like kindergartners, where there's never a shortage of antics, and they're so entertaining, and I love my goats so much. Sometimes they can be naughty, and sometimes they're just plain curious and have lots of energy and want to play. So in the book, Shaman finds himself in situations that are very relatable and kind of typical situations that we would encounter on the bus.
And I know it's also training the kids, right? So it's focusing on loading and unloading. And
yes.
So it's teaching kids how to have school bus safety, but in a fun and, lightening kind of way.
Yes. So one of the other reasons I wrote it was to help with communication. So I found myself in 2021 driving home with a full bus of elementary students and 14 kindergartners. That was a lot. And honestly, it was a little bit intimidating in the very beginning, but the school did a fantastic job of making sure that everybody was easily identified. And a lot of them had older siblings that I was able to pair them with on the bus, just at least temporarily, to get through the newness of the school year. So communicating on the bus when students are excited and they want to be with their friends and they've got all of this pent up energy from being in school all day, trying to help them to remember certain things like looking at the bus driver before they cross, keeping their voice down when we go over railroad tracks, and then the danger zone, of course. So the most important aspects that are the most difficult to communicate are what I put in the book. And I left it somewhat generalized because rules vary from state to state. And I wanted if it was used by another driver, I wanted them to be able to embellish whichever situation was more applicable for them. So there are little vignettes on most of the pages that have little nuggets of things that a teacher or parent or a bus driver could elaborate on as their situation seems fit.
And I know you said when we talked earlier for the article that you would drive up to stops and you would see parents trying to teach their kids school bus safety. And so I think that's important because, obviously a parent's heart is in the right place, but they probably don't know all the antics that go into it.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I was fortunate to have some of the most wonderful families, and they were trying to teach. I remember one situation where the mom was telling the kindergartner to just stand still, just stand here, don't walk at the bus yet. And I wanted to just spend so much time at that stop and talk and tell her all the wonderful things that her son was learning on the bus. And I just wanted her to have a tool at home that was everything that I wanted to tell her. Mm-hmm. And so if I put it in book form, then all parents everywhere would be able to have this tool.
Yeah. And I know that you've been reading 2 classrooms at East Lyme Public Schools. So your superintendent has been very supportive of the book as well.
Yes, he's been fantastic. And it was the initial encouragement from my location manager and the affirmation from the superintendent that really gave me the courage to put the whole thing out there and go forward with the project. It was a lot of time and energy to get this thing rolling. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. And it's a memory for Shaman as well, because I know he passed shortly after the book kind of got written. So what a beautiful way to remember him.
Thank you. He was pretty special. He brought a lot of potential to our herd. I mean, now the goat farmer in me is going to come out. So I breed for conformation and specific traits that you would want in a dairy goat and a show goat. So he brought all of those things, and to lose him so suddenly and shockingly was so difficult. A lot of the plans that I had made with my goats for our herd structure and in the different aspects of what I was doing, he was the reason for a lot of the things that I was doing.
Mm-hmm. And I know there's rumors that Shaman might go on a field trip.
Yes. So that's the next book.
Well, I know people, when we posted your story on Facebook, I know it blew up and we were getting lots of comments. Our producer Claudia looked up the post and we have over 800 likes. So I'm telling you, it is gaining a lot of traction. But I mean, seriously, people are asking, where can they get the book? They want to do big orders. What has the feedback kind of been for you?
It's been overwhelmingly positive. The feedback has been so encouraging. And the best part of the whole thing is being in the classroom with the students. And at the end, I will ask questions about the content and what we put out there, and just to see if it makes sense to them and their understanding. And it's 100%. every time. And one day when I brought the Shaman plushie with me, I asked, what would it mean to you to have a Shaman plushie, a little Shaman goat doll to go along with the story? And the answers I was getting was, it would help me to remember to be safe. It was that kind of answer from third graders. And I was just blown away. And it was another confirmation that this is the right thing that I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So since the book was published, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and First Student has endorsed the book. So that means a lot to me. Knowing that the company that I work for is supporting the book, and I don't know what else to say.
So if someone wants to order the book, I know they can go through Amazon, and we have the link posted on our Facebook. We also have an article at stnonline.com. But if someone wants to go directly to you or to order multiple copies of the book, how can they get in touch?
The easiest way is to just go to my website, shamanridestheschoolbus.com, and go to the contact me and fill out the contact me form. And then I'll get that email and answer as soon as I possibly can. It's no problem for me to do bulk orders of 100 or 200 plus. So definitely, getting the message of safety out there to as many kids as possible is my mission. So I will be all over it.
And just to wrap things up, what's next for you, Valerie? I know you have Shaman, the plushie, behind you. If people are interested in him, how can they get their hands on him?
So Shaman the plushie at the moment is a pre-order. So I've partnered with Vermont Teddy Bear to produce a 15-inch tall Shaman the goat. He's got a pair of blue shorts and a yellow shirt, just like in the book, and a little blue backpack. And he's so super cute and he's so soft. He is available as a pre-order right now on shamanridestheschoolbus.com. And hopefully, if we get enough pre-orders, I can go back to Vermont Teddy Bear and say, yes, let's go to production. So from the consumer point of view, it could take up to a year to get the dolls produced. So the dolls need to be tested for child safety, which, hey, that's great. Take your time. Do your child safety test. And the sooner we get the pre-orders in, the sooner I can go to production. So I'm looking forward to having these.
And he is really cute. I'm watching him on the camera. You guys can't see, I'm sorry, but she's showing him off. Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for jumping on the podcast. It was great chatting with you. I'm so excited to see the adventures that Shaman continues to go on. And I really do hope this book gains attention so that more students can be safer on the school bus.
Thank you so much. I do too. Thank you.
A special thanks to Ryan Gray, Taylor Ekbatani, Valerie Higley. Appreciate you coming on the episode, sharing about your book. We also appreciate our sponsors, TransFinder, IC Bus, and Student Transportation of America. Guys, you can visit us on stnonline.com for all the latest news and analysis on the school transportation industry. Don't forget to register for STN EXPO this summer. Go to stnexpo.com for all the information. We got Green Bus Summit, we got Transportation Director Summit Leadership Training, as well as our new Bus Technology Summit Laboratories out at STN EXPO Indianapolis, which is coming up real soon. So guys, got to be out there. Sign up today. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to Pods Nation. We love you. We'll see you next week.